everybody, my name is Tanya and today I've got another book list video for you. Finally getting some of these filmed. This is something that I've been hinting in and around some of the videos that I've been filming today as a potential project that's starting in 2017. So now this is finally that video about that. Today we're going to talk about this list, which is 28 life-changing books to read with your mum. So this is a list that I came across on BuzzFeed quite a number of months ago now. I'm not quite sure when I found it, but I spotted it. I sent it on to my mother, you know, just to show her, thinking that maybe it would be something we could look at one day, but with no great hurry. Then when I came to thinking about what to get for Christmas this year, because I was away for a lot of December, I didn't really have a lot of time to do a lot of shopping at home, and this came up as a thought. And so I purchased 2 copies of a number of books from this list to get us started, which I'll run you through the books that we've got and the ones we'll be starting with shortly. I'll also run you through what is on the list and what I have already read, because there are a number of these I have read already. Either both of us have read or one or the other of us have read some of the books from this list. But we're going to go back to square one. We're going to read everything together and, you know, have some mother-daughter buddy reads and find out why these are life-changing books you should read together. So of course I'm going to have the list linked down below so you can see and read the reasons that they've been chosen. There's a little blurb for each of them. I'm just going to run you through the titles today and like I said, let you know which ones I've read. There are a lot of books from this list that I had heard of before, but there are also equally a number of books from this that I have never heard of, so it's going to be really interesting and quite an eclectic mix of stuff to read together. There is fiction, there's non-fiction, there's a graphic memoir, there's a whole bunch of different things on here, so I think it's going to be a really interesting list to go through. So this is a list that I am planning on completing. There's no time frame for it at the moment. We'll have to kind of discuss what works for the two of us since it's not just me, but it's something that we'll be starting in 2017. As I said, I purchased 7 books for Christmas to get us started, so we've got 2 copies of 7 of these, so a quarter of the books. So even if we manage to get those ones read in 2017 and make it a 4-year project, I don't know, we'll just kind of play it by ear, but this is something that's happening. And so I'm going to run through the 28 books now. Assume if I don't say anything that neither of us have read them, but I'll point out the ones that I or my mother or both of us have read as I go along. The first book on the list is My Name is Lucy Barton by Elizabeth Strout. Then we have Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel. Ordinary Light by Tracy K. Smith, which is something that I'd never heard of before. Paula by Isabel Allende. Both of us have read something by Isabel Allende in the past, but this one is a non-fiction book about Allende's daughter Paula and what happens when she falls into a coma in the 90s, so it's going to be a very different experience reading that than reading her fiction. Next up we have Room by Emma Donoghue, then Annie John by Jamaica Kincaid, which we both have read before, but we'll be going back and reading again for this project. It's something that we both read quite a number of years ago now, and so don't have a lot of recall about it. It's a very slim volume that's on the 1001 Books We Should Read Before You Die list, which is why we would have read it. But it does definitely deal with the relationship of a mother and daughter, so it'll be interesting reading it together more in that light. Next up is The Argonauts by Maggie Nelson. And we have A Tree Grows in Brooklyn by Betty Smith, which I have read before but Mum hasn't. I read that I finished it right at the start of 2016. It was part of my 2015 BookTube Recommends project and I absolutely adored it, so I'm very much looking forward to reading that one again and for Mum to read that one and for us to talk about it. Then we have Caramello by Sandra Cisneros, Terms of Endearment by Larry McMurtry, Where'd You Go Bernadette by Maria Semple, Mum and Me and Mum by Maya Angelou, which the both of us have read the first of Maya Angelou's autobiographies. I Know Why the Caged Bird Sings, but not this one. I presume this comes later in that series of autobiographies. I'm not quite sure, I haven't looked yet, so there might be some other additional reading we have to do before we get to that point. We will see. Next is Divine Secrets of the Yaya Sisterhood by Rebecca Wells, The 12 Tribes of Hattie by Ayana Mathis, Chocolat by Joanne Harris, which I have read, Mum might have read as well, I think, and I've seen the movie. I think that's how it goes, but again, we'll be revisiting it for this. Then we've got My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante, which I have read but she has not, and maybe we'll have to continue on with the series after that point. I've meant to. I've only got the first one and I've only read the first one at this point in time, so it might be a good push to go through and read the whole thing together perhaps. We shall see. Then we have The Poisonwood Bible by Barbara Kingsolver. I have read this one but Mum hasn't, but again I'm really intrigued to revisit this one and for her to read it. Then we've got The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. This one is on the 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list, so I'm quite pleased that there's that crossover, but neither of us have read it at this point. Same goes for The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. Again, it's on the 1000 list, but neither of us have read it, so that'll be good to get to that one. Then Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which of course is quite popular and well known. Neither of us have read that one at this stage either. Some Women by Emily Liebert, Things We Left Unsaid by Zoya Pirzad, Behind the Scenes at the Museum by Kate Atkinson. I've heard about other books by Kate Atkinson, but not this one so much, so I'm intrigued to see why they chose this over some of her others, I guess because there are mother-daughter themes. Secret Daughter by Shilpi Samaya Gowda, Digging to America by Anne Tyler, Operating Instructions, A Journal of My Son's First Year by Anne Lamott, Before We Visit the Goddess by Chitra Banerjee Divakaruni, and I'm sure I said that horribly. And lastly, Love Me Back by Merit Tyers. So it's a real eclectic mix of things. Like I said, some stuff that I've heard about and have wanted to get to, some stuff that I've never heard of before. So it's going to be great to kind of explore this list and read it together. So I'm going to run you through the first 7 books that we're going to be reading from the list. These are just a random selection that I ended up picking up. It's not from the start of the list or, you know, ones that I've heard of or anything. It's just a weird mix of different things. The first book that I've got here is this one. This is Behind the Scenes at the Museum by Kate Atkinson. As I said, I haven't really heard about this title by her, but others are quite popular and beloved, so I'm looking forward to this. And so the back of this one says, Ruby Lennox was conceived grudgingly by Bunty and born while her father George was in the Dog and Hare in Doncaster, telling a woman in an emerald dress and a teacup that he wasn't married. Bunty had never wanted to marry George, but here she was, stuck with 3 little girls in a flat above the pet shop in an ancient street beneath York Minster. Ruby tells the story of the family. From the day at the end of the 19th century when a travelling French photographer catches frail, beautiful Alice and her children like flowers in amber, to the startling and witty and memorable events of Ruby's own life. So that one sounds very interesting and I'm looking forward to getting to that. Next we have Where'd You Go Bernadette by Maria Semple, which is something that I've heard a fair bit about on BookTube and overwhelmingly good things, so I'm looking forward to this. And so the back of this one says, Bernadette Fox is notorious. To Algie Branch, a Microsoft wunderkind, his talented, volatile, troubled wife, to fellow mothers at the school gate, she's a menace. To design expert, she's a legendary architect. But to 15-year-old B, she's quite simply mum. Then Bernadette disappears, and B's search for a mother reveals an extraordinary woman trying to find a place in an absurd world. So that one sounds like a lot of fun and a bit of intrigue. And like I said, I've heard overwhelmingly good things about this one, so looking forward to that as well. I really just need to stop saying looking forward to everything, because I'm looking forward to everything. Next up we've got this one, which is Terms of Endearment by Larry McMurtry. I've of course heard a lot about Lonesome Dove by Larry McMurtry, but apparently I'll be reading this one first. And so the back of this one says, in this acclaimed novel that inspired the Academy Award winning film, Pulitzer Prize winner Larry McMurtry created 2 unforgettable characters who won the hearts of readers and filmgoers everywhere, Aurora Greenway and her daughter Emma. Aurora is the kind of woman who makes the whole world orbit around her, including a string of devoted suitors. Widowed and overprotective of her daughter, Aurora lives life at her own pace until 2 enormous challenges are sent her way: Emma's hasty marriage and subsequent battle with cancer. Terms of Endearment is the story of an extraordinary mother, her feisty daughter, and their struggle to find the courage and humour to live through life's hazards and to love each other as never before. So again, that sounds fantastic as well. Then next we've got Wild by Cheryl Strayed, which of course is quite well known and it's recently become the film. I've heard a lot of great things about this as well, so looking forward to getting to this. You probably already know the main gist of this one, but I'm going to read the blurb of this too because, you know, don't want to feel left out. And so it says, at 26, Cheryl Strayed thought she had lost everything. In the wake of her mother's rapid death from cancer, her family grew apart and her marriage soon crumbled. With seemingly nothing to lose, she made the most impulsive decision of her life to walk 1,100 miles of the west coast of America and to do it alone. She had no experience of long-distance hiking, and the journey was nothing more than a line on a map. But it held a promise of piecing together a life that lay shattered at her feet. And so this is about Cheryl Strayed's decision to hike part of the Pacific Crest Trail in America by herself with no preparation. So I'm sure it's something that I couldn't do, but I'm very interested to read this one. Then we've got this one, which is The Namesake by Jhumpa Lahiri. I probably chose this one because it's part of the 1,000 list, so it's good to combine goals. And it's not too big one either, so it'll be good to tick this off that list as well as this one. And I've heard great things about it. So the back of this one says, Gogol is named after his father's favourite author. But growing up in an Indian family in suburban America, the boy starts to hate the awkward name and itches to cast it off, along with the inherited values it represents. Determined to live a life far removed from that of his parents, Gogol sets off on his own path, only to discover that the search for identity depends on much more than a name. And so I think this sounds fantastic, and I'm very much looking forward to reading it as well, as with everything. And then I've grabbed Are You My Mother by Alison Bechdel. I thought I'd grab this one because it's something a bit different. This is Alison Bechdel's graphic memoir. And so I thought that might be fun to read together. The colour palette of this one is quite muted. It's just black and whites, or, you know, in greys and pinks. I've heard a fair bit about this one on BookTube, and again, only positive, so looking forward to giving this one a go. And again, the back of this one says, in this brilliantly told graphic memoir, Alison Bechdel embarks on a quest for answers concerning her complex relationship with her mother, a voracious reader and passionate amateur actor, a woman whose creative aspirations simmered under the surface of Bechdel's childhood. As Bechdel grapples with having become the artist her mother wanted to be, she takes readers from the fascinating life and work of the iconic psychoanalyst Donald Winnicott to one explosively illuminating Dr. Seuss illustration to her own adult love life. Ultimately, though, she comes back to mother and fragile, poignant truths. So, again, looking forward to reading this and finding out, what all the fuss is about, since I've heard a lot of good things about this. And the idea of, graphic memoirs is becoming more and more popular as well, so I am intrigued to see how this one is done. And then lastly, I've got this one, which is The Joy Luck Club by Amy Tan. I did already own one copy of this already in a different edition, but I chose this one so I could buy one of these gorgeous Penguin Orange Collection books, which is, a bit cheeky, because now I've taken this one for my copy and the other edition goes to Mum. Not that she minds. But these editions are gorgeous, and, the excuse to buy one of them was high on my priority list. But again, this is a book that's on the 1001 Books You Must Read Before You Die list as well, so it's good to get that crossover. And I've heard such good things about this, I'm very much looking forward to finally getting around to actually reading it. And so the blurb of this one says, in 1949, 4 Chinese women, recent immigrants to San Francisco, gathered to play mahjong, remember the past, and gossip into the night. United in unspeakable loss and new hope, they call themselves the Joy Luck Club. With wit and sensitivity, Amy Tan examines the sometimes painful, often tender memories that reveal these women's strengths, worries and determination, which their American-born daughters reject as irrelevant. The daughters in turn recall pivotal moments of their own past, believing their mother's expectations have stymied their ability to face the uncertainties of the future. Amy Tan's debut novel, widely regarded as a modern classic, shows us how the inheritance of pain and unsaid secrets can lead to misunderstanding, and yet how love can still undo the damage and provide reconciliation. So I think this sounds fantastic as well, and I'm looking forward to it. So that's the first 7 books that we'll be reading from this list. Let me know down in the comments if you've read any of the books from this list and think that we should get around to those ones sooner rather than later. As I said, I've got these 7, which I think I'll make a book jar for, and we'll decide the order of that. But then we have to decide which books to move on to after that point and which ones to buy next. So if there are some other books from the list that you think should be a priority, let me know. Let me know down in the comments if doing a list like this is something that you'd consider, doing some buddy reads with your mother, and let me know down in the comments how many of these books you've already read. As always, thank you all for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye!